Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the KFS pregame show. GMAC, Mensa from KFS, and XJ here to preview the Knicks' upcoming matchup, their home opener for the 2022-23 season against the Detroit Pistons, the Kevin Knox revenge game upcoming in just a little more than an hour, I should say. We're going to preview this game, as I just mentioned, the Knicks home opener, and hopefully it is a bounce back game for the Knicks as they're coming off I don't want to use the word heartbreaking, I'll just say frustrating loss in overtime to the Memphis Grizzlies on Wednesday. Gentlemen, you have not had a chance to comment on this game, at least publicly, yet. And Mensa, before we get into Detroit and talk about the Pistons game tonight, I want to get from the world's largest RJ Barrett supporter your thoughts 2 days later on that opening night performance from one Mr. Rowan Alexander Barrett Jr.
So, yeah, it wasn't great. I'll say that much.
It's an understatement, yeah.
So, but the way I look at it is Rex Ryan, when the Jets, I think we lost 45-3 against the Patriots, I think his second season coaching, he took the film and he went outside to the field and they buried the film. Because there's nothing constructive that you can say about that game or anything. I just chalk it up to it was a terrible game. I didn't have a problem with his process. I thought he was processing the game the way he normally does. Some like the results weren't there, but they weren't there for Quickly. They weren't really there for most of the night for Brunson. To me, it was just the Knicks went to Memphis and forgot how to shoot. And that extrapolated, really terribly for RJ. But game 1 out of 82, there are 81 more for him to make me look like a genius. So I'm not worried about it at all.
The Rex game you're talking about, not only did he take the film, he took a ball. He took the ball and buried it in whether it was outside or outside of the web. Guess by then they were still practicing in Hofstra. All I remember is that to that extent, it was, we do not take anything from this game. There's nothing constructive to let's look at the tape and how do we beat the Patriots better next time? No, this is just one of the worst games we'll ever play, and we move on. I like that you said that he had good process, because the more I thought about it and in some of my reaction, there's really only one or two shots that I was like, RJ, that's a bad shot. There was a forced three from the corner in overtime that I was like, that could have been a better possession. There was a couple of shots in the first half. I'm sure that he probably could have turned into a better possession, but he really just wasn't making shots. And outside of one, Julius Randle, who had an outstanding night, and then Cam Reddish, who had an even better night, which is why it's funny that I'm now transitioning to XJ, who has made his thoughts on both of these players very publicly known. XJ, your thoughts on the game as a whole, and were you able to? And I this is going to turn into an OB conversation, and I know it will, but Randle having a good game, was that at least acceptable for OB not being part of the rotation more than I know all of us would have liked him to?
Yeah, I think that was totally fair for OB to play what was it, 13 minutes or something like that?
13, yeah, 13 was the final total.
In regulation, right? Before Randle fouled out of the game, which I'm sure we'll get into in a second. But yeah, I think that was totally fair. Randle played elite offensively. He played 2021 Randle or 2020 Randle. There was no flaws in this game, no blemishes. He was great. He was great at passing. He was making great decisions. His shooting was on point. I didn't see it coming. Is it sustainable? I guess we'll find out. This saddens me because it means that if he plays well, he's going to be here for forever.
Yeah, forever.
For the rest of his career.
Not for a while, forever.
Forever. Which, I guess it's good if he's going to play this way, but it saddens me because I listened to the pod earlier with John and Benji, and I agree with Benji. I think OB has to get traded, and it really saddens me to say that, but the coach doesn't trust him to play through mistakes. We saw last year, OB expressed and displayed that when he has the freedom to play through mistakes is when he really blossoms, and that's the kind of coaching that he needs. that's the kind of coach that he needs, and that's not the kind of coach that's here. So it's just a bad fit right now, and it makes me really sad. But if Randle's going to play that way, or even like 70% of that, I don't see how Obi can stick around.
Yeah, in the preseason, when Randle seemed fine being a third option, I actually got encouraged that, deferred low usage Randle is an opening for Obi to play more, because then if he's your third option, Obi can be a third option. If he's got it going, then you'll be fine. In overtime, when Randle fouled out, and we were watching it on playback, and John and Benji and I were like, okay, who gets put in? Both Benji and I were like, this needs to be Obi, and if it isn't, then it says a lot. And when it wasn't, now we know. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I think what people are missing. So Fournier got put in for Obi, but the person who took his minutes was Cam, right? And so in my opinion, I think Cam was more of the one playing kind of the token four. Both teams were playing pretty small, so it wasn't like there was a big out on the court. I think Memphis had no center. So it was kind of just like small ball, like positionless basketball. But I think those minutes were Cam minutes taken from Obi, as opposed to Fournier taking minutes from Obi.
You don't think Cam took some of Fournier's minutes instead? Or
Cam took some of Fournier minutes. I'm just talking about in the overtime specifically.
Oh, in overtime.
In overtime specifically, yeah.
Well, so
it's a weird way to look at it, but that's how I guess see it.
Specifically when Randle was fouled out, though.
Yes,
and
exactly.
you were missing your back. Like, okay,
correct.
Do you put in your backup four, or do you go to your veteran two guard?
Correct.
Like,
yeah.
That's when I was like, okay, now you need to see what Tibbs turns to. And look, when they drafted Obi, the initial thought was, all right, this is our power forward of the future.
Yep.
Now we trade Julius Randle, right? And that whole 3-week offseason before the pandemic shortened year was like, okay, so when are they trading Julius Randle? Who are they trading Julius Randle for?
Yep.
And then he had the year of all years. And then conversations on this channel may have been, well, do you trade Obi? Because you're not going to trade Julius after the year he just had. They just extended Julius. And now here we are a year later from that, having the same conversation. I wonder if that is where this ends up. And look, this is a 1-game overreaction. Maybe Randle is 3 of 10 in the first half, and Obi has it going and has the preseason game that he has all over again. But we'll see. I am hoping that this Knicks lottery pick turns out to be a productive player for the Knicks. A player who was not very productive for the Knicks that was drafted in the lottery as we transition to the Detroit Pistons was one Kevin Knox, who, I don't know if you guys realize this, played 13 whole minutes, played just as many minutes as Obi the other night for the Pistons against the Magic in their night 1 victory. So we should say, for those of you that are thinking that this is a Alec Burks revenge game, he is still out with a sore foot, so he will not be playing in this game. Actually, we'll start with you this time. Where did it go wrong for Kevin Knox? Like, why? What was the biggest? Was it just like he was drafted too high? Was he just like, sometimes this is what happens with prospects, that was he given too much responsibility that tank year, and unfortunately that wasn't his game?
I think it was too much responsibility. Like, looking back at the numbers, he was in the 82nd percentile in usage rate his rookie season. Like, that's insane to think about.
To a rookie, yeah.
As a rookie.
That in college, well, I guess at the combine, the biggest question was motor. So you're giving a guy with motor questions that much usage. It's not
so much
what
usage.
You want. Yeah.
And also was like at bottom inefficiency, obviously. I mean, which is to be expected. But with that usage, I think his confidence really got shot. Like, I don't want to play like armchair psychologist, but I don't really know what else to say about it. Like, I feel like he has an NBA game, but it hasn't translated. I thought he'd be good out of Kentucky. I really did. I don't watch college that much, but his raw skills were there. His shooting looked good. It looked like it was going to improve a lot, but it never came along. And it's really hard to say what exactly went wrong. But that's the one big thing that I see is that usage rate at 19 years old, seems kind of crazy for a tanking team that was awful. And he was just really inefficient. So never really recovered from it.
Mentor, were you ever on the Kevin Knox, not necessarily hive, because I don't like to generalize people that believe in certain players as a hive, although The OB Hive continues to be very loud in many a post game. But like I do know that the Kevin Knox Hive existed until the very end. What were your thoughts of Kevin Knox when he was here?
I was out on Kevin Knox very early. Because of, I don't know, like his game, like the high usage, like middling efficiency guy who doesn't do anything else with zero secondary stats. I thought of him as trade bait from game 27 of his career with the Knicks. I didn't think that he was going to last here. I didn't like how he played defense. He wasn't a great rebounder. The best thing that he did was I think he shot like 34% his rookie year, which looks good for a kid who's 19 years old. Normally statistically that trends up. Didn't trend up for him because he ended up in probably the worst situation for a young developing player, the Steve Mills Knicks, because everybody was either an asset or a max player, and we had none of those things because it was terrible. But yeah, I was not a Kevin Knox guy ever. I was much more invested in guys like Trey Burke and Frank Ntilikina, but I still believe in Frank Ntilikina today. But yeah, me and Kevin Knox, I never saw it from the beginning. I wanted us to draft Shai Gilgeous, Mikal Bridges.
Terrible.
Man,
don't look at the next four after Knox. Don't
literally
do it.
every single one after.
I was
after
definitely
them.
big on Michael Porter that year. I remember the Knicks fans at the draft were chanting Michael Porter's name. I'm glad in retrospect we didn't take him, even though he would have been much better than Kevin Knox because the health issues, I don't believe in him long term. But yeah, I never believed in Kevin Knox.
So here's the tricky part. During that tanking season, one of my least favorite during the year, I was like, let's just see what this is. And it's never that I was out on him. It was always like, I want to see more what he looks like when you have players on the team that are actually trying to build towards something and not KP's hurt and then we're trading everybody because KD, Kyrie, and Zion are coming. Like, I was actually curious what that would look like. And look, you say the best thing he ever did was 34%. The best thing Kevin Knox ever did was Summer League. Like that first Summer League where he showed up and hit those 4 threes in the second quarter was like the best possible thing. I thought like, oh man, we got a star. Like we actually got like a 3. I remember some of the tweets that night were like, we got a 3-and-D guy in Kevin Knox. Oh boy, was only one of those true. So look, John brings this up a lot, that he met his dad during the year that he was covering for the Knicks for Sports Illustrated. It's like, I understand there's a person there, so I feel bad that it didn't work out. And he went from, like you said, XJ, a high usage player to you're now potentially like the 4th, or at that team in 2019, the 7th forward. You know, it's just like not fair where we're giving you all of this leeway to play out your mistakes. And then the next year, oh, wait, you got to be perfect or else you're getting out of here in a couple of minutes because our jobs are on the line.
Yep.
And I think he's actually kind of in a perfect situation in Detroit if they're going to give him some leeway to just play 13 minutes a game, be a backup stretch 4 or 3. And I hope that there's like a longer career than what we saw with the Knicks. As far as Detroit goes, so where did you guys have Detroit projected before this season? Mensa, I'll go to you first. I know we in our demo, we talked about where we see the Knicks this season, the teams we have ahead of them. Is Detroit a sneaky play-in candidate, or are they going to eventually pivot toward Wembanyama?
If you're asking if Detroit will eventually pivot towards Wembanyama, I would like to point to the 13 minutes Kevin Knox has already played this.
Those numbers will go up.
Yeah.
Poor Kevin Knox.
So the East already is very tough. No, Detroit, they're not there yet. I love Jaden Ivey. I love him especially next to Cade. I don't think that there is like a group of guys, a duo that's been drafted that is as compatible as Cade and Jaden Ivey. I think Detroit knocked it out of the park. They play perfectly together. But the rest of that team I don't really believe in. And then even those guys are a bit too young. They're very light in the paint. I think it's just Isaiah Stewart, Marvin Bagley, And that's not going to win you much of anything. Those guys are a little bit better than replacement level, respective to their positions. And it's really hard to be a good guard very early in this league. I think we take what John Morant did for granted sometimes. I don't think that's not easy, and it's not happening again. I don't expect Jaden Ivey and Cade Cunningham to light it up this season. I kind of have them. I want to say they're either going to be like the 13th or 14th best team in the Eastern Conference. I'm not very high on them at all.
XJ, what about you?
Yeah, I've been mostly fully agreeing with everything that Mensa said. I don't think they're going to be very good. I think Jaden Ivey is going to be really good. I see Jaden Ivey as a floor, as an all-star, potentially a superstar. I think he's going to be great. Like, his shot is the critique on him, but it looks good. It doesn't look bad. It doesn't look broken. He has some inconsistent mechanics, but he hit 16 of 18 free throws in the preseason. I think he's clearly working on it. I love how ambidextrous he is, like the left-handed passing. All of his skill is insane. The explosion. He even has a great feel for the game. Like, I watched some of their first game, and he can cut to the right spot, kind of like how Obi does. Like, he'll kind of like back himself into the correct spot. And he can play off the ball, on the ball. Like, I think he's going to be amazing. All that said, not this year.
Not this year. Okay.
Like Mensa said, it's really hard for guards to come in and be really like have a great impact right away. They can put up some stats, and I think he'll put up some stats, but I don't think he's going to have a huge impact on winning like right away. I think Cade's still a little, maybe like a year or two away from being like up in that elite echelon. I think he'll get there, but I think it's too early for them, so I don't see them going anywhere. I think they're going to switch over to Wemby real soon, real quick.
Can we touch on Jaden Ivey for a little bit and discuss draft night? Because the Detroit has another player on the team that the Knicks drafted for a second, a hot minute even, in Jalen Duren. And I don't fault anybody that's like, I'm not that in on the Mitch contract. I know Benji has made it very clear that he's not in on the Mitch contract. I don't think it's like an unintelligent take either way. If you're like, you keep Mitch so you can trade him, which is more where Benji's, or which more where Jeremy's side has been to, where it's like the contract's descending. These deals are only going to become more and more tradable as the cap goes up. He does have value to a team. Having said that, you could also have just drafted Jalen Duren at 11. Just from my perspective, I think they thought they were building up a war chest for Donovan Mitchell next summer, and that these picks were going to help them for it. And then, as we all found out, that became this summer and did not happen. That night going in, there was so much chatter, whether it be like Berman came on Draft Class with Chris and made it clear that the Knicks were going after Jaden Ivey. Many an insider was like, this is like a Knicks target right now. They want to try and go get Jaden Ivey. Going into draft night, Mensa, did you think the Knicks were this was like the Jaden Ivey night, that this is going to be a night that they trade up to get this guy?
I have never seen the Knicks win like a player before we won Jalen Brunson. So I didn't my heart wanted to believe it, but my mind was like, who are you kidding? And then on top of that, it's really hard. I think Jeremy did like a podcast essentially breaking down like all the teams that have traded up. It's unheard of for a team to trade pick 11 to pick 4. Like, yeah, it wasn't
from outside the top 5 into the top 5, because we thought it was going to have to be Sacramento that the Knicks traded up to.
I didn't see it happening. Would I have liked for it to happen? Yes. Did I believe the rumors in the moment? Yes, because as a fan, I allow myself to experience fandom, even though like my sober mind won't allow me to believe it. In the moment, I was like, this could actually happen. There's like a 2% chance. I'm clinging to that 2%. But yeah, no, when it didn't happen, I wasn't disappointed because who are we kidding? We're not going to give up any unprotected picks for this guy. We don't have any assets that played enough in order for us to say, okay, we'll give you Obi Toppin for the number 4 pick. Nobody's buying that. So we were fooling ourselves. And I think we learned that even more with the Donovan Mitchell trade, because we needed to give up everything to get him. So yeah, the Knicks just didn't have the assets to make a major move like Jaden Ivey. And I think that was evident.
XJ, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't think it was realistic either, but I was hoping for it. this is the rare deal I would have been down to include Obi in. So
I was wondering if that's an asset you were willing
that
to go
means
to.
something, but it doesn't mean that much to other teams because we talk all this about rehabbing Randle's value. Obi doesn't have the value that he should because he doesn't play enough, right? Like let's it's not a rehab. Let's like initiate Obi's value at some point by playing him the appropriate minutes so people can see who he is. But yeah, I would have included Obi in that deal and unprotected picks. But I didn't see it happening. It would have been really tough. Clearly, Detroit was asking for a ton, but I do think he's going to be a superstar. So I definitely was in on it if it was possible. Yeah, I think it's just unfortunate that the Knicks kind of always seem to end up without the guy. You know, I know we got Brunson and it's great, but you know, Brunson is not the guy that I think that Ivy actually is going to end up being. So
yeah, and look, there's an alternate universe where the Knicks like don't hire Tibbs and trade Randle when they were starting to lose games during the 2021 season, and you know, instead of the 4 seed, they try to get as high as possible. And
can I go to that universe?
I was about to say because then you
that sounds like my universe.
Yeah, that's the one you want to be in. Yeah, I was listen. This is part of where you have some people here that are plugged in a little bit, and the information we were getting is that they were like really close to getting him, and it's like you said that it's to Mensa's point. It's not even so much that we don't have the assets; it's the assets that we're willing to part with, or the assets that it would have took. The Knicks weren't willing to part with. Like, would they have had to give up 2 unprotected firsts? And I dare say it, RJ Barrett to get up to 5. Like, is that something that a trade like that, if you believe like what Presti was willing to give up to get from 5 to 1 to get Cade, where he was like 7 picks, you know, 7 picks, number 5 and SGA to get to number 1 because he wanted Cade. And the Pistons were like, nah, we're good. We'll take Cade Cunningham. And that's just the nature of the NBA, unfortunately. Just want to go to the comment section. First of all, Dirty Dancer with a hilarious comment in retrospect. Kevin Knox's career was ruined when Zion took his soul. That was the night of the earthquake too, and I'm pretty sure
he's not wrong.
That was the night of the earthquake too, and I'm pretty sure we know where the start point of that earthquake was. There's a Melo debate going on in the chat that, like, I'm all for Carmelo Anthony coming here is what they're saying in the chat. One of the biggest Melo stands in the world. Mensa joins me on that island. I don't want the Knicks to sign Carmelo Anthony. I know XJ doesn't because it's more players to play over Obi Toppin, unfortunately. But if the only circumstance that I wanted him here was if they had consolidated everything for Donovan Mitchell and Randle was off the team too, and he's the backup 4 to Obi. That was the only situation I wanted him to be. There's no place for him right now, unless, I mean, look, if his career is so far gone at this point that it's one-day contract, Melo, then sure, why not? I just don't think.
He's not doing that yet. No, he's not doing that.
Can I be honest? Melo had a 54 effective field goal percentage last year. There are many a team that could probably use him. I am talking about the team he just recently played for, too. They might be able to use a shooter. Let's talk about the Detroit Pistons game tonight. Mensa, I've got FanDuel up. I'm looking at prop bets as we currently speak. What are you looking at tonight as far as something valuable that the Knicks could, we could potentially benefit from on the FanDuel Sportsbook tonight?
All right, I got 3 straight props for you. I like team oriented. I like Knicks first half -4.5. I think when I saw that it was like -106. I think first night at the Garden, if we're going to lose the game, it's going to be in the third quarter or fourth quarter. I think the Knicks are going to jump out and jump on the Pistons. I don't like any of the Pistons front court members when it comes to being able to stop guys like Mitchell Robinson, Isaiah Hartenstein, and Julius Randle as far as possessions go. I think the Knicks win the possession battle in the first half. And at -4.5, I love that line. I also like Jalen Brunson, all prop 20. Jalen Brunson to get 20 points on FanDuel. First night, it's his home opener at the Garden. Dad played there. It's a family affair. I think that's you can get that at plus money. I think close to like plus 200.
It's plus 122 right now. Jalen Brunson to get 20 points. So
I love that.
You get plus money.
But my favorite line is Julius Randle over 4.5 assists. I tweeted this one out this morning. I don't think it moved too much. I got it at minus 106. Last I checked, it was minus 113. Reason why I love it for a couple of different reasons. I love it because Julius Randle against the Memphis Grizzlies had 10 potential assists and 6 actual. So he got 10 potential assists on a night where the Knicks starters couldn't hit the bright side of the barn. Evan Fournier, Jalen Brunson, and RJ Barrett went a combined 14 for 47. I don't think that repeats. And I do believe that Julius Randle is leaning into his ability that nobody else on the Knicks really has as an advantage creator, where he'll hold the ball and he'll do his little jab steps. And what that does is the defense is like, okay, we can't stop him one-on-one. Let's rotate. And then he's spraying the ball out to Fournier, to Barrett, and to Jalen Brunson. I don't think they miss as many shots this week. Tonight. Also, he got 6 assists last time he played, and the line is 4.5. Another thing is both Franz Wagner and Paolo Banchero, they are forwards, and they got 5 assists each. So Detroit gave that lineup already, and you're talking about a guy who's going to be passing the ball. They're going to be more possessions. I think I would have him projected to get like 7 assists tonight. So at 4.5, I'm taking it all day.
I like it. I like it a lot. Can I give you a even wilder parlay regarding Julius Randle? So, first of all, do we both think the 3 of us think the Knicks will win tonight?
Of course.
I think Knicks win in a blowout tonight.
A blowout. Hell yeah. I like that.
I love the minus 4.5 first half for sure. I love that.
I like the minus 4.5. I like the minus. Hold on. I'm looking at, because on my phone I placed this bet. So hold on a second. I like the money line at 290 too, but only including it in a parlay. So how much are we believing in this version of Julius Randle, especially against a weak front court that is going to play Kevin Knox 13 minutes? Just how much are we believing he could get at least 21 points? Because his over for points tonight is 20.5, and you already hit him for over at assists. You're saying he can't get 9.5 rebounds?
Or you got him getting a triple double, Andrew?
I'm saying, can he get 21, 10, and 6 tonight? And then that parlay plus the Knicks is plus 640. If you bet the Knicks money line and those 3 Randle overs, it's plus 640.
Yeah, I'd take that. I might actually go put. Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. I'm just saying.
640. That's solid.
Yes.
Yeah.
If you're building, it's a Julius Randle parlay plus 640. And look, if he hits it, great. If he doesn't, no, then he's back to dead to me, unfortunately.
Well, the issue I see is that I'm anticipating a blowout. So I see Randle not playing that many minutes. And that's the thing that I would take into consideration as part of that.
So what quarter do they pull away is my question.
Probably third quarter.
Which Randle will be in for. Maybe that's the quarter he stat pads and gets to 21, 11, and 6. See, here's the problem. If it's a blowout tonight, it means they're hitting shots. So I'm curious who's getting the assists is my question, So, like, if it's a blowout, is he, like, responsible for it? So is this a 16, 9, and 8 night for Randle instead? Which is like a great stat line, and we'll all be thankful for it. I won't be because I took the parlay.
Oh, I know that well. Just to jump in, I think the 22 points is pretty easy for Julius Randle tonight. Well, 21 points, because if they can't guard him, they're going to foul him. Isaiah Stewart is not exactly known as the most level-headed center in the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
He's not hothead either, but I could see Julius Randle getting to the line about 8-9 times tonight. I could see it happening, but as far as my game script goes, like the way I look at it, so what I do is when I bet, like, especially with like learning this from football, is like, is it a positive game script or a negative game script? Do I expect this team to be leading from the front or catching up? I think the Knicks, that's why I like Julius Randle's assists, not so much as points, because if Julius Randle the way the Knicks are going to play it, Julius Randle is like the third option. He's not going to get shots. Like, they're not going to script shots for him the way they're going to script shots for Jalen Brunson and RJ Barrett and even Evan Fournier. Julius Randle kind of has to make his own bag. So that only becomes an option if the Knicks are in a close game or if the Knicks are behind, where it's like, okay, RJ doesn't have it going, Jalen Brunson doesn't have it going, Julius, please do something. So I think that I really don't like the points line too much because I think that it's going to be the Jalen Brunson coming out party. I like the narrative the most there. And I have another narrative that I love tonight that's kind of like underplayed, but a blowout could ruin it. But we'll talk about that later. So yeah, I like the rebounds because it's either one or two guys get the rebounds. It's either going to be Mitch or it's going to be Julius. So you have a 50-50 proposition. Somebody's going to come away with double-digit rebounds. So I do like that. I like your chances there, especially at 6-1. But the points is where I'm like, I don't know. Unless Julius Randle decides he's going to have one of those games where he hits 7 threes, which is very possible with him because you never know when it's coming.
It's not probable with him, I'll tell you that much. It is, but
possible.
That's the thing. I keep like XJ last year when we were with Prize Picks, I was taking the under on his 3-point makes all season. Then he hits like 7 in Sacramento. It's like, oh, there goes
That's
that.
unfortunate. That's just bad timing.
Yeah.
I want to shout out Reliquum Gaming in the chat because they said a couple good things I like. First, they said let's prehab Obi's value, which is a better version of what I was trying to say. And then they said I think the Knicks will create a lot of turnovers, which I totally agree with. Like something that I noticed in last night's game. It's like a schematic point, but Tibbs really seemed to be focused on trying to shut down Memphis paint attack. And he had whoever was guarding the corner on the strong side, like really hedging hard into the paint, but they kept going too far and couldn't recover. Like Randle did that 2 or 3 times. Obi did it. Quick got completely lost, like in the paint, trying to hedge out. But in the second half, they kind of stopped doing that, played straight up, and they played great defense in the second half. So I feel really confident that their defense is going to come back with a vengeance. I think RJ's coming back with a vengeance. I like passing Randle tonight. I do think he's going to do a lot more assisting. I think there's going to be a lot more ball movement. I just see a blowout coming on the defensive end, really starting from that. So I like it. Yeah.
Okay. I like it too. So Mangu Man, might be Mangu Man, but I apologize if mispronunciation. Just got on. Did I miss the bets for the night? No, you're in the bets portion of the show. So I want to try this. Can we each give one bet tonight that we're guaranteeing? And then we'll just like keep a record. Not that we're actually going to bet it, but like that'll be, whether we're 1-0 tonight, like how they do picks on the NFL pregame shows. So I kind of threw this on these guys. So I'm going to give XJ a chance to go pull it up. But this is how segments are created organically. Mensa, are you going 4.5 on Julius assists?
Yeah, that's the one.
That's the one you'll take?
Yeah.
Okay. So that'll be your guarantee of the night. Mine will be, as much as I like this Julius parlay, I did not realize that Jalen Brunson was plus money to hit the over on 20 points. So I'm going to go. Yeah, I'll do it. I'll go Jalen Brunson over 20 points. It's plus 122. It doesn't matter the value, by the way. You just have to pick a correct bet. I will take Jalen Brunson over 20 points tonight.
It doesn't matter the value?
Doesn't matter the value. So just take.
So can I just take Knicks money line?
If you want to take Knicks money line, that is too. That is
that's the one I would take.
We should have. Okay, let's work this segment out. No, it has to be a prop. It can't be a Knicks. It can't be a team money. It's a non-money line bet. There you go. It has to be a prop.
Okay. I mean, I would do the 4.5 at the half. Like, I love that. That's amazing.
I was waiting for him to be like, all right, I'm taking like something is plus 6,000. You just take the under. I guarantee Randle will not have 40 points tonight.
Love it.
Which,
I should have came with that strategy. What am I thinking?
Technically, would have been right.
I get into some national props that I think
go ahead.
Okay, so storyline, we got Paolo Banchero playing DeJounte Murray tonight. And if you were on Twitter this summer, you know how significant that is. My personal favorite that I don't think is being talked about a lot, Zion Williamson is back home in the Carolinas for only the second time in his career against a team that has zero paint pressure, and his line, last I checked, was over 24.5. Zion Williamson to get 25 points tonight against Mason Plumlee and PJ Washington. That's my favorite. That's my favorite prop of the night. And I think him to get like 40 points is like plus 1,500. It's going to be a blowout. Don't get me wrong. So he may not get the minutes to play, but I think it will be a blowout because they cannot stop Zion Williamson. And he's probably going to have like 1,000 people in the stands for him alone because he's from South Carolina and they don't
stay from that area.
Yeah. So that's my personal favorite bet of the night. And if you guys want to take that, 24.5 Zion Williamson, that is like, I don't want to guarantee it, but where's my Charles Barkley guarantee?
Guarantee.
Because that's my favorite of the night.
Can I ask you guys a question about the Pelicans?
Yeah.
Am I crazy that in my preseason predictions on Patreon, I have them as the 5 seed in the West?
Legit. Pelicans are legit.
Okay.
Yeah. The data supports that as well, just so you know.
I like
metrics like them.
Makes you feel a lot better. Go ahead, Vance.
I like them more than I like Memphis because when I look at Memphis, I see the 2014 Washington Wizards. I think like how much better is John Morant's Grizzlies going to be than the John Wall, Bradley Beal was, especially like, are they going to like everything? And I mean, everything will have to break right for that team in order for them to get to the Western Conference Finals. I think with Zion Williamson and Brandon Ingram, well, I believe the wing is the most important position in basketball. I think that because you look at a guy like John Morant, how many John Morants have won a championship? I'll wait. But specifically wings, are very dominant. They can play defense on both sides. Like the two-way wing, to me, is the most viable position. And they have Brandon Ingram. They have a veteran in CJ McCollum who's been there before. They have JV, who's been on a really good Toronto team. I think they traded him before they won. Yeah,
before they won, yeah.
He got traded for Gasol, but I love the way that team is built. They also have Herb Jones. And if you look at last year's Boston Celtics, they had 3 wings that got them there. They had Jason Tatum. They had Jaylen Brown, to a much lesser extent, and I'm saying much lesser for a reason. They had Grant Williams. This Pelicans team, if Zion stays healthy, if Brandon Ingram stays healthy, which is no guarantee, and Herb Jones, yeah, give me the team with the 3 wings. And let's go play ball.
Man, you got me looking at other futures for the Pelicans now. Yeah, I believe it's plus 3,000 to win the title, which I'm not. I'd rather.
Yeah, I wouldn't go there.
I'd rather keep the money, spend the money elsewhere.
I just think
go buy dinner tonight. You know.
He'll beat them.
Final thoughts before the game, fellas. XJ, we'll start with you.
I would just reiterate what I said. I think we're going to see a blowout tonight. I think the Knicks defense is going to be locked in. I like Brunson to go off. I like RJ to go off, bounce back. Yeah, I see this as kind of a dominant performance at home. I hope so. I'm not an optimistic person generally when it comes to the Knicks. So this is genuinely on the data and on what I've seen in this game. I'm not high on Detroit. I think I could see Ivy having a good game. I could see him having a terrible game. I think he's going to have a lot of ups and downs throughout the season. I think he's going to hit highs and hit lows. Hopefully tonight's a low. And is Nerlens Noel active? Do we know?
Let me double check their last game, but I'll double check that.
I think we're sleeping on the Noel revenge game. That's the only thing I'll say. Because Noel, a lot of us don't remember. Noel is a menace on the defense.
So interesting enough, Noel is active, was a DNP coach's
healthy
decision.
Scratch.
A healthy scratch night one, which I don't know how many unhealthy scratches he was last year, where it was like, we just want to see what this Jericho Sims, Taj Gibson thing is. Jalen during revenge game, I guess, could be it, but like only in the world of Mark Berman, where he was like, after being spited by the Knicks and not drafting him, now this person comes in. Shout out, Mark. I hope you're enjoying retirement. Potentially Nerlens Noel, third center. He only gets in garbage time potentially tonight.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, so we'll see. Mensa, final thoughts before the game.
Final thoughts. We are coming out of college homecoming season, but we are stepping into Jalen Brunson homecoming season. Jalen Brunson leads the Knicks in points tonight, and the Knicks win going away. I would say something like 114-97 New York.
Okay. Homecoming for. Are they gonna do what they did for Melo? I'm coming home.
I think so.
Coming home. He's actually from Baltimore. Okay. Thank
AC,
you.
wait. What do you got? What do you got? You think
I've
it's
got
gonna
a
be a
W
blowout
tonight.
too?
I got a W tonight. I will say, the more I thought about the Memphis game and just how much went wrong, it left me so much more encouraged about the next couple games,
Same here.
because I like sitting there on playback in the first half, and like John and Benji are like, is this the team we're gonna get this year? Like, they're just gonna lose by 30 on opening night, and seeing them like you said, really tighten up the paint. Like they have that wall that they use for, it's like a tip strategy. It's what they did with Zion. It's what they did with Giannis. It's what they do with Jots. Anytime they want to wall off the paint, they'll basically say, like, do what you want with the 3-point line. If you're hitting shots, you're hitting shots, which is what we saw a couple times last season. And the plan was executed to perfection in the second half. And it's why they came back, and it's why they took the lead a couple times. I don't think you're going to have that. I don't think you're going to need Cam Reddish to go off for like his career night tonight. I think you could actually, if literally one or two things that went so very wrong that you can expect to go a little bit more right, go that way tonight. I don't know about blowout, but you two seem to think blowout, so I'm all for it. I'm hoping so. I do think the Knicks will win tonight. I would take the over on the spread. I think double digits, that like they pull away because their second unit is deeper, which would then support like any Randle conversation, because I think he'll be on the floor at the end of the game, but we'll see. I'm not gonna put Kevin Knox past the revenge game where he shows up and he's got 7 threes in the first half or some shit. Anyway,
I'll put him past that now.
If Kevin Knox hits 7 threes tonight, then I don't even know what. Like, the Knicks Film School is just gonna fold, unfortunately. I don't want to say that because then it'll happen. That's how confident I am that 7 threes will not be made by Kevin Knox tonight. Watch, this is gonna get clipped, and then I'm gonna have to go talk to John and all of our other LLC partners. No, just kidding. Didn't mean it. Please, Kevin Knox, I hope you have a good game tonight, just not at the expense of a Knicks win. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in for the KFS pregame show. We do this before every game. Mensa and XJ, their Twitter handles are in their name tags, so give them a follow if you please. John will be live on this YouTube channel after the game, breaking all of it down, hopefully after a W. Until next time, thank you for tuning in, and go Knicks.